What's up, guys? Eric here from MajorLeagueTrading.com, coming at you with another free nightly video. And we're switching this thing up a little bit right now. Just talk to you guys for a second before we take a look at the charts. And I was expecting today, based on like last night's price action, I was expecting there to be more today than what there really was. Some things that we talked about last night, like Discover, that kind of ran away from us. Netflix really couldn't quite get down to that 431. It bounced up from where, we thought it would maybe get to and open and probably try and trade a little bit lower. And then Tesla was like really, really close to the level, but it was already the next level down. It was already the target than what we were talking about last night. So my initial game plan that we put together from last night was kind of like unraveling this morning, except for the overall indices. That was the big mover today, at least for me, because some of these other things just didn't do the things in which I wanted to see them do. Now, there definitely was some opportunity there, but it wasn't what I had kind of pictured in my mind last night. What I will say, though, is that I'm actually really excited for if this is the type of action we're going to see from earnings season this season. I almost said this year, but if we're going to see this type of action this earnings season, it's looking really, really, really good. So Netflix and Tesla here today just got absolutely annihilated. I mean, almost 10% on both of them. 9.74% out of Tesla and 8.41% out of Netflix, which is huge. And a really decent move down in the overall markets, including NASDAQ here. Dow being the one that kind of held out on us. So if we take a look at the charts here, NASDAQ, the big mover, we talked about this last night, is I didn't want to get too excited, but under 768s here in the NASDAQ, like this opens us up for, 488.75s, which we're now only 100 points away from. And if we can get there by, essentially maybe Monday, tomorrow's options expiration, so we really do have to kind of be aware of the potential for what that normally looks like. But at the same time, it's also a travel day for me. So any days in which I travel, it has just consistently always been a really, really good day. So if it is, and I hope it is for you guys, you are welcome. But it would be nice to see us do nothing for the first time, like ever, when I travel. So with that being said, though, once we can get down and test this 488.75, that's going to be a key point for us is, hey, do we go higher from here? Can we, kind of put some effort back into getting up towards that 16K number, which we've basically just tagged and gotten rejected from. And we'll have to see what that action looks like down there. But at the moment, that's going to be the area where, hey, if this starts to hold, I'm going to start looking at, hey, what's been standing out with good relative strength, and then look to see if we can't catch that next move to the upside from there. So with this, we did really, really well today. I feel like I'm saying really, really a lot. With the QQQ puts, so I traded this with NASDAQ, futures options here to the downside as well, and this thing just absolutely ended up working out really nicely. So just talked about at 10 o'clock here, Lotto Q puts and call it a day, walk away here. And then I threw out the potential idea here for a meta to 300. But before we look at that one, the main thing which I was looking at today is we gapped down in some key names like Tesla right into a pretty important level that if it breaks, like has room to, kind of actually take us a lot lower. And realistically, it was the same thing in Netflix here. So we had two decent names, two big cap names in the NASDAQ, getting a nice gap to the downside today. So I was initially watching Tesla for a potential long, and once we cracked back kind of under 278 in here, this is what I was watching. Once we cracked back under 278, I was like, okay, this thing is likely a lot lower from here. And initial first targets there being 271.10s. You can see we went sideways from there before we finally broke down, into the rest of the day. But once those two things, kind of took place, it's like, okay, this daily chart is a little bit extended on the NASDAQ. We can make that move down, right? So I'm flipping back and forth between these because I'm showing you, hey, at the first part of the morning, NASDAQ's rallying, but yet Tesla and Netflix are weak, right? So it doesn't really make any sense to me here that the NASDAQ would be pushing higher with Tesla and Netflix going lower, right? So that was my first indication as to, the potential for that, right? And then all I looked for, which is pretty easy to spot, was just this divergence right here in the Russell, right? So we had S&Ps pushing higher, we had NASDAQ pushing higher, we had Dow pushing higher, but at the same time, it was like, oh, the Russell's not wanting to go higher, right? The Russell's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to go that direction, right? And we went lower from there. So I put this up on an Instagram story, Instagram reel actually last night as well, and I showed a screenshot from 10 years ago, August of 2013, with almost this same exact pattern, just in reverse. It was the Russell versus the Dow, as opposed to the Russell versus the NASDAQ in this case, right? So that's really what gave me kind of the indication as to, hey, that's the potential for today. And then, at 9:59, it's right towards the end of this 5-minute bar right here. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're kind of rolling over here. If we can take out these lows right there, we're probably going to start to get a little bit of, weakness here in the overall markets. And the next thing we had below us was 770. And if 770 cracked, which was, say, 770 at 768, if that cracked, then we were looking, rather ugly from a significant standpoint in terms of the level, right? And you can see once we did crack under 768 here, and I didn't even grab a screenshot of this, but we were talking about selling rallies back up into 768. So we took puts up in here. We closed puts in here for our first lock at 1039. And then right after that, punched in the chat again for a 768 retest. You can sell that and then ride it lower, which we do get. We rally right up into 768 and then down into the next level here of 15,561 quarters. So all around, wasn't the day in which we expected it to be in terms of the names in which we were going to be able to trade. But when this trade finally set up and started to work out in our favor, it was just a matter of holding it along for the ride. So overall, really solid day. Happy to end the week there. And if you are trading tomorrow, good luck. I did not scan over any names from today. I was actually filming some YouTube videos and a new course in which I'm going to be releasing to you guys here soon as well. So left the desk for all of that. But hopefully you guys were able to catch a piece of this or at least stop out of any longs, trail those out. Because some of these names got hit pretty hard, like Meta, right? So we were talking about Meta. I punched that in the chat. I'll end with this one here, where I was looking at, hey, Meta to 300 for OPEX tomorrow, because that's an OPEX type of thing. That's a whole number type of move. And it just seemed likely here once we started kind of cracking through the opening print here for Meta and the rest of the patterns in which it had on the higher time frames. So anyways, that's what I got for tonight's video here. Thank you guys so much. If you're still listening, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave me a comment, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.